morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Monday, September 15th, 2025. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Monday, everyone. Here's a look at the ES in the daily time frame. Big rollover gap here as we head into the new week of trading. Big gap up here through the 6,600 level. That's our next major market structure level up from the 6,200 level here. Big time push through that market structure and now above 6,600, which would now start to point us towards 7,000 as the next major market structure level up. Of course, this doesn't mean it needs to get there straight away, but again, any acceptance beyond 6,600 starts to point toward 7,000, and any pullback even midway in could still get us there. So again, this market remains highly bullish, remains in a very mature melt up phase, and it's Fed week. So this week is Fed week. On Wednesday we'll get the FOMC statement and rate decision. We'll also get the press conference, so we could have a mostly range bound Monday and Tuesday, and even early Wednesday ahead of late week volatility. We do have quite a bit of economic data points coming up on a Tuesday, including retail sales, for example. So again, Tuesday could have a little bit more volatility, but expect mostly range-bound price action as the market awaits Fed Wednesday. Today, gap up and holding, could be range-bound at these highs. It wouldn't be surprising to see a new low today, back to a new high, and trading range bound with an upward bias as we head into Fed Wednesday. Looking at the NQ, similar price action here, big rollover gap to the upside. This thing is above the key range high right now and into the 50% extension. At the moment, the 100% extension takes us right here. 24,915 would be that target. So there's the edge, there's the break, that's halfway up. A continuation would take us to 24,915, and again, any pullback even into 23,845 could still get us into 24,900. So again, this market remains in a very bullish trend. New highs yet again, rollover gap to the upside, and again, right now it wouldn't be out of the question here to see price rotate from these levels back to the lows of the day, and then back up as this market continues to trade back and forth with an upward bias. Looking at crude oil futures right now, this one's up 0.5% right now. Inside day at the moment, trading right at the center of Friday's range. Friday gave us a pretty intense range straight up and then back to the midpoint. That gives us a new key range right there. So if you're watching crude oil for intraday trades, that could be the range right there to use for the next several days as the market awaits Fed Wednesday. So again, that high, that low, that midpoint, very, very important. If price comes up here to the high, it could be a fade. If price comes down here to the low, it could be a fade. And once we see breakout from this range, we have the extensions that could take us in either direction. So that's your key range to watch in crude oil. Looking at gold futures, this one has been on fire to the upside. New all-time highs at 37.15, and now range bound here over the last several days as it continues to hold on to those gains and as it continues to build energy ahead of Wednesday's Fed. This thing broke to the upside in a big way. We've mentioned before, once we get the breakout, we're looking for a 500-point continuation in the direction of the break. Likely to the upside is what we mentioned. This back end right here is 500 points. That is a multi-month compression with an upward bias, ascending pattern. We got a tremendous expansion day, a price discovery phase that was a transition from this lower range into the upper range here. And that means 4,000 is the next upside target here, especially if price can drive midway through that range. Hitting 37.5, 37.50, that right there takes you midway into 4,000 right there, and that would increase the odds of continuing across the range. Even getting as far as we have now is still good enough. So any pullback, even as deep as 3,500, could still be a continuation toward 3,900 to 4,000 up ahead. Very, very bullish in gold. And this normal little range right here, this little 4 to 5 day compression, that could give us the next near-term breakout move as well. So again, very, very strong. Any pullback could still be a buying opportunity as this thing works its way toward 4,000. Looking at the YM right now up 0.25%. This thing here taking a rollover gap up. Friday's close was here, Friday's mid is there, rollover gap up against that entire range, and that's given us some MGR buy signals right now by way of the gap. Again, this right here is a very bullish melt up phase. We've talked about the 45,000 level right there. That's 45,000. Hit it perfectly right there, built a bit of a box here, and again, continuing to melt up out of that box and continuing to see new highs, new all-time highs right now for the YM. And again, trading range up here. We could see a rotation back to the overnight lows. That could provide a bounce back up as we trade in a range over the next couple of days ahead of Fed Wednesday. Looking at Bitcoin, this one's down about 1.7% right now on a pullback. This one's had a very decent squeeze to the upside, although it has been lagging overall. Big pullback here recently. It was barely able to hold that 110 edge and bounced it. Remember, if it failed at 110, we were going to open up a return to 100K, maybe as deep as 95. I've mentioned before, if price did pull back toward 95K to 100K, that could provide the next long-term 50% return and maybe even higher. So again, any pullback that's deeper down the road could still be a long-term buying opportunity. For right now, we're testing the previous week's midpoint, or previous month's midpoint, after a higher high failure. Modest little push up, but again, this is a zone here where we could continue to see a little bit of a struggle for Bitcoin if it can't get through the 117s. All right, looking at ETH, this one's down 3% right now on a pullback. Mentioned last week here to our trading room that this compression right here was significant, a ton of energy in that compression, and then here's Friday's range with a massive breakout through the top of that range. A huge transition day that day, and that right there could be the next squeeze to the upside just in the near term. If you look at the last few times we've come out of these compressions, it's been very similar. You see this compression with that transition move in the breakout, this one here with these days pushing price up, this one here very similar breakout move, and now we had that compression with Friday's breakout. Does today offer an opportunity for bulls to defend for a continuation up out of this range, or are we pretty much stuck between 4,000 and 4,900 right now in this range until further notice? So right now, again, it looks like a great swing breakout move developing. Today, obviously a bit of a pullback. If it can hold above 4,500, perhaps there's an attempt at the highs, but we remain stuck in this part of the range right now. And of course, this market continuing to await the Fed on Wednesday. With every Fed rate cut here, crypto continues to get more and more bullish, and we could continue to see a further upward price discovery phase, even out of this short-term range. If this market is intent on breaking through these highs as it did Friday, we could be looking at a move that takes us to 5,200 and even up into the 5,600 zone based off of this compression and the energy in that range, and the way that we might see that energy come out to the upside. So again, if this thing can make that push through 48, it really opens up some of these upside targets. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the rest of the week. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.